Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Munoz, CEO of the experience agency D-Flash. This is part of my 29 Days of Magic series, where I get to interview a phenomenal Black woman doing game-changing things every single day, the month of February for Black History Month. I am super duper excited to have Tasha Gilroy, who is the Global Director, DEI Talent and Partnerships at VMLY&R. And she is incredible. She does great work, and you're going to hear a lot of really incredible stories from her. So take a listen. Hi, Tasha.
Hey, Laura. Thank you so much for having me. So glad I was able to connect with you to be a part of this. It's a fantastic idea to celebrate Black History Month. Thank you for this.
Oh, my pleasure. I try. So you've listened to the show, so you know the deal. The first question's always the same. I'm always fascinated by the answers. I'm sure you'll be no different. So, Tasha, what was your first job?
Okay, so my first official job with a paycheck, I worked at the Wallbound supermarket as a check person. So I was checking people out with their groceries and, also cashing checks for people who back in the day used to actually physically walk their checks into a supermarket to get them cashed. So that's what I did at the Wallbound supermarket on Long Island,
Wait, where
Massapequa.
on
Woo!
in Massapequa? I know that one.
You know that one? Right across from the Sunrise Mall?
Yes.
What?
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God. How small world of ours, and we didn't know each other houses. Not like
I know
we
this.
didn't move in the same circles. What?
Well, because like
Yeah.
I lived in Hempstead and I lived in Baldwin. But
Okay.
I knew that wall
Okay.
bounce. So
Oh, see, there you go. That was my first gig.
uh, you learn how to kind of do everything and be in charge, which probably leads you to like what you do now, which is what,
hmm
Tasha?
So officially, I am managing diversity, equity, and inclusion for talent and partnerships for VMLY&R, and that really means that I'm managing, helping to ensure that we are focusing on talent networks and talent communities, not only to identify talent, but for the most part, helping to encourage community and networks to be interested in industry, to want to join industry, and have a focus on also helping to keep them here with us in our industry. We focus so much on pulling people in. We are now having to shift our focus in helping people stay and feeling encouraged to stay and feeling wanted to continue to grow their careers. So that's primarily a lot of what I've focused on in my role, in addition to the small HR component, which is handling and managing compliance. As a government contractor, our agency is required to report our employment statistics and data to the government. So all of that rolled up into one is kind of what I do.
And how did you get to be doing this for such a long time and so remarkably well?
Well, okay, so I officially have been, as of the 22nd of February, I will have been in the game for 14 years. Primarily, I came in, had no clue about this industry when I came into the former Y&R agency. And at the time, I was helping to be the coordinator and manage programs with who was managing or who was the diversity officer at the time, and who was head of learning for the agency at the time. So I was managing learning programs, managing inclusion programs focused on talent, and connecting all of the partner and sponsorship opportunities, and managing those programs throughout the agency. So after doing that for a few years, moved up to a manager role, and after doing that for about 6.5 years, moved into the director role. But all the while I was managing the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and partnerships, I was doing that with the global group, the global HR team. So my reach was a little farther outside of the scope of the US, while predominantly most of the programs and initiatives we were managing were in the US. But again, grew up in the position and managed to kind of morph and kind of adapt and expand the role depending on what the requirements and the needs were, but then also seizing some opportunities and kind of deciding where we should be shifting as industry has changed so much over the last 14 years in regards to how we even think about talent overall. So it's been kind of an interesting journey, one that I've kind of been proud to build, and one that I think also helps guide and teach me about the nuances of the industry, but my position, what it means to me, and as a human, my contribution and what I've decided I'm going to do in terms of my legacy and how I'm leaving an imprint on the industry.
Awesome. And it's awesome because like, you've actually been able to stay somewhere and actually like put your foot down and have a real imprint on that. What's made you stay so long?
So personally, I have to say part of why I've stayed so long is because of the camaraderie and the group of people. The team that I work with was a phenomenal team. They encouraged, ideas, and they encouraged me to kind of figure out some things on my own, gave me guidance and gave me help and support. And they always, made sure that I had funding and budget to be able to do some of the work and partner and do the sponsorship things that I was able to get involved, the agency connected to. I'm sure the world knows that about a year and a half ago, we officially merged with our digital sister agency, VML. And VML was at a different place in their diversity, equity, and inclusion journey than where the former Y&R was. And so by coming together, we've kind of been able to kind of blend best of both worlds and kind of have that focus continue to evolve. But I stayed so long because one, the team that I work with is phenomenal group of people and really encouraged and engaged me to kind of think more and do more. And then two, I personally wanted to leave the industry better than I found it. And the leadership here within the agency has always made it a point to say it's important to us. We know that you have this focus. We're giving you this lane to work in and to make us better as an agency. And so that's a rare thing to have. And that's one of the reasons why I've stayed loyal and stayed connected to this agency. And then being able to now, see the nuances of what this merger can bring and the opportunities it has opened up because of the change, right? So that's why I've stayed for so long. And really, there's a lot of fantastic talent and a lot of fantastic people that I've been able to meet, here at the agency, here in the U.S. and globally. And I want to be here to support them. I want to be here to encourage them and to keep them engaged and push them to do better, do more, to get the development that they need, to get the things that they deserve in terms of their career trajectory, and encouraging them to push on. So I know sometimes having someone that looks like them and comes from their cultural background or a similar background or a similar community connection, and having someone that looks like me also is helpful, right? So that's part of what keeps me going some days is knowing that I'm helping them and giving back.
Yeah, because you're an incredible mentor. And I think, you're a shining light for so many of us in the industry because you're like, yeah, I got this. And take your counsel because you understand how to navigate these waters. As you've obviously been successful in your career, what's been a challenge that you've faced along the way and how have you sort of navigated and sort of seen your way out of it?
Yeah, so one of the big challenges that I think I probably saw my way halfway through, so I'd say about year 6 into 7, when I didn't feel like the industry was moving as fast as I had expected it to. So, you come in, you're enthusiastic and you do all these things and you push the envelope and you start to really focus on, different initiatives and different programs and how it's going to be beneficial. And we did this program where we had this big recruiting push, and we had brought several people into the agency, some really dope creatives and some really super dope strategy people, and they were all people of color. And I finally said, oh, good, we got it. We got representation. The people are here. That initiative worked. We went out and recruited, and we got the folks to represent, and they're here. Ha ha. A couple of years later, everybody was like, not sure if you really want me, if it's about me or if it's about your numbers, and not sure if this culture really wants me, meaning the industry, right? Does the industry really want me? And this shift started to happen where it was like we went out and did this hardcore recruiting effort, and it worked. It was beneficial. But then I started to see a shift where people said, I don't know if you really want me or you just want what I represent. You want me to be counted. And so that was kind of a hard take at are we really doing this because we really want representation, or are we doing this to say that we did it, right? The count. So it was a little bit of a shift in my thinking and saying, when I put this amount of effort in, you have to put the effort into recruiting, absolutely. Identifying talent and talent communities that are underrepresented that need to be a part of what you're doing, absolutely. But at the same time, you better be working on your culture. You better be working on how your managers are managing, because managing a group of people that are from different communities and are from different cultures and backgrounds and countries and ethnicities, coming onto a team where a manager has never managed a diverse group of people, that will in and of itself will cause friction and challenges and problems, right? So while you're bringing in talent, you working on your culture, you're working on community, you're working on creating inclusive leaders, managing these groups, in addition to helping develop and giving opportunity to this group and promoting people and making sure that they have a career trajectory. Because coming in and doing the work and the burnout, that's not gonna work either. So those are the things that was my first initial taste of, I did all this and why didn't it work?
Right.
Because some of the parts weren't working. So that learning has helped me shift my whole mindset in the strategy of DEI, right? Because it's a full scope. It's not just one or the other. You have to have it all happening at the same time, and hopefully in a well-rounded way, and having leadership support. That was another huge, I think, mistake that I made early on, where I was kind of siloed doing my thing and didn't bring leadership in until it was the end result. Oh, here's what we did. Here's the programs that we got going on. Here's how, the year-end wrap-up of what went on for diversity, equity, and inclusion. No, you have to have them a part of the solution. You have to have them engaged. You have to have them show up at events. You have to have them participate and sponsor and be a part of your strategy, right? It's not separate from the business. It's a part of the business. And that was something that I learned early on to shift my thinking about.
Awesome. And as a result, now you're like, clean boss lady.
Not there, but hopefully what I'm challenged with every day and learning more about how things are shifting, because here's what it is too. Diversity, equity, inclusion, back in the day, I'm going to say back in the day because I'm grown, right? But back in the day, it was a numbers game, and it was about, race, right, or gender. It is so evolved, and it is so continuously evolving. It's always changing and morphing. Why? Because you're talking about humans. Humans are not static, right? People change, communities change, opportunities change.
Yeah.
Right. Your country changes, leadership changes. Like so many things are always evolving. So we can't ever think it's going to be a one way how we look at it. And so that's the nuance of being in this role and always seeing how it evolves and how we as an industry have to then either adapt or evolve or make room to say, you know what, we might not get it, but we're gonna find out, we're gonna figure it out, we're gonna learn today.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's because it's kind of what we talk about. Like, it's not just about having the numbers. It's about retaining people and making them feel welcome in the experience, and like recognition tools where like you do things to show that you actually want these people here. Like, I always make the joke about a guy who wasn't even my boss at the last agency I worked at, that he saw in me something that nobody else saw, and was like, hey, listen, we have this sort of boondoggle trip out to LA where you guys are gonna go and meet people, and you can be our representative, and just go. Like, trust me, you're gonna appreciate it. And I was like, what is a boondoggle? And he's like, it's just go. But I remember going, and it literally changed the course of my career, because one, he could have picked anyone to go, but he picked me, and I was the only Black person in the agency. And when I went, he was like, "Do whatever." And so I got to be with the clients and other members of the team who were on the West Coast, and I got to like stretch my thinking and realize I could be more than just a project manager. And
absolutely.
And those sorts of things where like there's a white man in leadership who's like, "Listen, I see that you're doing some really good stuff here. I don't want to like stifle that. I want to help you even grow that even further." And the more that you can build campaigns and programs and have leadership who support things like that, the more you'll be able to retain people, because
Heck yeah.
they feel valued and appreciated.
You feel valued, appreciated, but you know that someone is checking for you, right? So that's the thing, that advocacy part, that's another component that we leave off the list so much, and that's like such a major, major part of once people are in the agencies, in our industry at any point in their career, whether you're junior, mid-level, trying to get to the next part to be a senior person, whatever part you are in or connected to, you need an advocate. You need somebody from the outside that's going to say, you know what, this person is super dope. Let's give them a shot, or let's just expose, right? We don't do enough of just exposing people to different opportunities and ways they could maybe pivot or ways they could start to morph into or bring new tools into what they're currently doing in their roles, right? And without that advocate helping to open that lane and giving permission to say, you know what, you could do some other things. Let me just take you to this conference. Let me send you to that workshop. Let me push you into that client meeting, be on a part of this pitch. And exposing people so that they have the opportunity to say, hey, this is a lane I didn't think about, or hey, this is another department I could probably now consider, maybe in a year I can start to pivot, learn some other things, and maybe this is the way I need to go, right? But you need an advocate to help do that. And that's part of why that leadership component, leaving them out, you can't do that. They have to be a part of any strategy, anything you're doing. They need to know, but not just know, the action of advocacy is what I'm about.
Yeah, it's really about the actionable pieces of it. So, you've been in your career a good little while now. What would you tell 25-year-old Tasha?
See, let me do the right thing. Okay, so I would tell a 25-year-old to one, know that you can do it, right? You can do it. You're gonna scrape your knees. You're gonna every now and then you're gonna have a little sting, and then somebody's gonna have to come along and kind of help guide you. But to be actively listening all the time, right? Active listening, actively engaging. Don't sit back and wait for someone to come along and say, oh, good job you're doing now. Now you get a promotion. No, you need to actively participate in what's going on with your career, so that when an opportunity comes up, you can say, you know what, I heard about that opportunity, and I know I've done these things even in my short time in the industry. I'm ready, or I'm ready to be stretched, or I'm ready for the next challenge, or I'm ready to be connected to this next opportunity. So always listening, connect yourself to a dynamic network, whether it's an official professional organization like NAMIC or like Colorcom, or getting involved with programs within the 4As, et cetera, the industry networks, but a community, right? So there's so many communities that you could be involved with, connected to things that you want to do, like your personal interests, right? Photography groups, or folks that are just, there was a whole Game of Thrones group that we had here at the agency, right? And so people from different departments were watching Game of Thrones every week and then coming together on Monday to talk about the episodes. So connect yourself with networks inside an industry and outside of industry, so that you are always evolving your connections to people. And guess what will happen? You'll get access to opportunities and learn about things that are going on that other people might not necessarily hear about right away, right? So that's really important. And then the third thing I would say is always be learning, but always know what you don't know. So while you're learning and trying to figure out your current position and your current duties or your current job, always ask either your manager or people leading your department or teams, where are the workshops? Where's my development plan? Because while you're learning your current role, you should be looking at the things that you'll need for the next job, so that when the next opportunity becomes available, either for a promotion or for you to jump into another organization, you will be ready, because you will have actively been developing those competencies and skills. So those are the three things.
Very, very politically correct answers. I see.
Right.
I see fine. Okay. So you've got a busy job. You've got lots of stuff to do. How do you take care of yourself? Like, what's Tasha's sort of self-care routine?
So there's a couple of things that I always love to do, and sometimes I cheat and do them, like while I'm at work trying to figure out the world, right? I'm an avid music listener, right? Kind of, and I would say I'm a child of hip hop.
Yes.
I was a baby when hip hop really started to become a thing, and it was a genre that nobody took seriously. And I remember the days when you have to wait till Friday night, 12 midnight, with your radio and the tape record, your hand on record, your hand on play, and you had hip hop was only played on college stations, off beat. There was no mainstream anything. So I'm a big fan of hip hop, always have been, which is why I call myself a child of hip hop. So I'm always listening to a lot of hip hop. But I'm also listening to a lot of different kind of genres, and I'm starting to get more into world music. As you know, I'm Jamaican, so I'm always listening to reggae. I'm always listening to soca and world music. But that's what I do. And sometimes I just throw my earbuds in and do that while I'm at work, just to always be, in a different kind of a space and be chill. And so that's what I do to self-care. I'll just put music on for hours and hours and hours. And I try to get that once a month massage. Like, that's my thing too. Got to get that massage in just to help get the relax mode going. So those are the two things that I know I do that are self-care just for me. And I'm pretty adamant that, try to get that time in for myself, because so much time is spent giving and doing for others that I have to take that for myself.
It's so necessary, and it's also really a key part of why I make sure, as part of the series, I'm asking everyone to sort of share this, because it's oftentimes, especially as Black women, like, the world's on our shoulders and we don't take a break for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So the more that we can do that, the better.
That's true.
What's your give and your ask? Is there any sort of advice or anything you're looking for that you can share with our audience?
Okay, so my ask, I think, right now of the audience would be what's the newer or maybe more um, updated way that I can start to connect my dots, right? So I know so many people, I know some dope ass people like you. Look how many people I know. And I'm always trying to connect the people I know with other people that I know, right? So now I'm trying to elevate that into where I'm connecting some of the organizations that I know with other organizations, and then using that connection to then help me. So how do I continue to push that, right? And then the advice I would give in terms of industry is always look for not the typical opportunity. Unconventional talent is where it's at. And if you have a skill set that you think nobody needs, you're wrong. Cultivate that skill. Continue to build in other places that no one else is in, or lanes you don't think will make you profitable or make you money or make you known, because those are probably the lanes that 5 years from now everybody's going to want or being connected to. So always know that unconventional talent is hot, and it's where the industry is going to continue to push on. So the things that you think you might not need or might not be important, or is on the side thing or side hustle that you exploring, continue to cultivate that.
Awesome. That's perfect. So, Tasha, it has been
Mm-hmm.
such a delight to have you on the show, sharing your wisdom. And
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. You're super dope yourself. We're always in awe of you and the work that you do and the ways that you're able to push the envelope in lanes that, a lot of us would be like, wow, you see who Laura knows? Oh, man.
I just say, I just do stuff. That's all I always say. But thank you, Tasha.
Right.
I think
Absolutely.
it's really important that they have your voice as part of this series. So I'm very thankful that you were able to squeeze out some time for us. And we'll definitely share out
Absolutely.
your notes with folks who are interested in learning about careers in VML, Y&R, and more, and and all the good stuff you're up to. So thank you, my darling. Have a great afternoon.
Yes, you too. Thank you, Laura. Happy Black History Month. Woo woo.
Awesome. And that is our show.